What the Sam Hill's going on here?
The Rewatch Podcast presents the Lois and Clark Rewatch, dedicated to the series Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman on ABC. Join us each week as we investigate the origins of the Man of Steel and uncover crime in Metropolis. Send your feedback to the Rewatch Podcast at gmail.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Rewatch Podcast or follow us on Twitter at RewatchPod.
Oh, hey! Let's get back to it.
And welcome back to the Rewatch Podcast and our Lois and Clark Rewatch. I'm Corey.
And I'm the new copier repairman. I'm excited about this position. I heard there's a lot of fun stuff that goes on in there.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
That's right. Jumped at this chance to get this job.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody. We are, of course, here discussing 2 more episodes of Lois and Clark, and this week it is Pheromone, My Lovely, and Honeymoon in Metropolis. A bit of a love theme going on here.
Oh, yeah.
Regular Lois and Clark love fest. Okay, so let's delve straight into it. The first episode is Pheromone, My Lovely, written by Deborah Joy Levine and directed by Bill Delia.
Yeah?
Delia?
He's got one of those apostrophes in his name, like the kids do today. Like the kids do today.
And this originally aired November 28th of 1993.
You cut me off, you rotten little son of a...
Temper. No reason to resort to name-calling.
You canceled my funding, Lex. Now, how am I supposed to continue my research?
Miranda, let's face facts. 2 years ago, you walked into my office offering me a working, practical solution to your theory within 6 months. You claimed that by adding an animal pheromone to your perfume, it would cause the person wearing it to lose all their inhibitions.
But I've done it.
Ha!
I can prove it to you. True. The solid compound wasn't working, but since I reduced it to a liquid form...
No, sorry. Miranda, in the final analysis, I do not fund losers.
And, what about us?
Us? You were an itch. You've been scratched.
You can't treat me like that. This was a labor of love for you. All for you, Lex.
Excuse me, sir. Lois Lane on the telephone confirming your dinner on Friday night.
Yes, Nigel, I'll take that call. Lois. Well, yes. Looking forward to it as well. I'll send a car.
One of Lex's former scientists / female conquests decides to enact revenge upon him by proving that she can actually deliver on a promise she made to him to create a pheromone compound that will cause people to lose all inhibitions. She tests this on the staff of the Daily Planet, which results in Perry making several passes at a cleaning woman, Jimmy chasing a supermodel, and Lois trying to seduce Clark. Luckily, the perfume only works if there is an existing underlying attraction to those sprayed, and it wears off in 48 hours due to its diluted form. Miranda tries to use the spray to seduce Luther, but it backfires and he instead becomes more enamored with Lois Lane. Realizing that Lex has eyes only for Lois, Miranda goes full psycho and decides to enact the ultimate revenge by kidnapping her and attempting to kill her in a plan that would make Cesar Romero's Joker from the 1966 Batman and Robin show proud. Luckily, Superman arrives to save her, having been warned by Lex. Miranda's plan was to replace the city's fruit fly spray with a concentrated form of her pheromone, causing a complete breakdown in the city as love would turn to despair and loss of hope. Superman manages to stop her plan, exposing Miranda to her own spray, causing her to fall in love with Superman before he turns her over to the police. Using the pheromone excuse to kiss Lois while Lex looks on, Lex realizes that he has actually and truly fallen in love with Lois.
Lois, it's very late.
No, not too late, I hope. For us. For happiness.
Oh, no. Lois, please, no, don't.
Oh, Clark, I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
Lois, please, go home.
You're here. This is my home.
Lois, you don't know how many times I've thought about this, dreamt about this. Well, something like this, but it's not real. What you're feeling is not real. I don't know exactly how, but there was something in the perfume that made everybody in the newsroom drunk on love. Lois, I cannot take advantage of you like this.
It's remarkable. I never noticed it before.
What?
You look a lot like Superman. Oh.
All right, so let's get into the investigation.
So there are quite a few of deleted scenes from the script that weren't included in the final episode, and the episode actually started off with Clark talking about the dock workers. I know they mention that, like they do a quick one-off line about it, but we actually see Clark mentioning them, and in the background you see the dock workers fighting with the bosses, you know, and they're not getting along, obviously, and there's some comments about that, and that pays off later in the episode when, after everyone gets dosed with the perfume, you have the union worker hugging the boss, you know, in the background. So they did pay it off, but just a little bit, you know, too much to put in, I suppose. Yeah. Kat, of course, you know, dishes with April, the supermodel, about someone that she's seen, and they mention a Kevin. I don't know if it was Kevin Bacon or Kevin Costner or some other Kevin, but she's like, and that news I heard about you and Kevin, what's going on? And April's like, I don't talk about rumors, you know, and that type of thing. Yeah. So it, you know, just a little bit extra character for Kat in there. It was kind of a neat little scene, but again, it doesn't really contribute anything to the whole overall plot. There was a scene in the planet before Clark arrives. Now, they had this whole, they set it up pretty good with all the balloons and the hearts and the flowers and everything, but it was going to go even a little bit further. There's going to be a scene before Clark shows up to see it all, and everyone, of course, is happy and in love. This is when Jimmy starts talking about the dock workers, and Perry says, let's not talk about that story. I want to talk about the story of a man and a woman who met on a train 30 years ago and fell in love, but somehow lost each other. And now they reunite that same train all these years later. It just gets me right there, you know, that type of thing. Like, he really starts getting emotional, and Lois is wiping a tear out of her eye, you know. Like, you think, well, what's the big deal with this? But this is explained, well, not explained, but it's paid off in the episode, even though there's no setup, when they look at the paper and it says couple reunites.
Oh, right.
You remember that scene? Yeah. That's where that headline came from, was because of this. So they actually made that the headline. This was the story behind the headline. There was a scene where Luther explains to Nigel why he wants the perfume. And it's a bit of a long speech, as, you know, Luther is wont to do, you know. But the basic thing comes down to, he says, you know, if you control men's hearts, you control their minds. You can turn elections, business decisions, etc. So that's his reason for wanting this, you know, to control, you know, elections and control men and women and stuff like that.
Yeah. As it stands, we kind of really don't get any explanation to why he would want this.
Yeah.
This is something that somebody at LexCorp has been working on, so why not?
Exactly, because I was like, why would he want a love potion?
Yeah.
You know? But this makes sense. This makes sense. When Clark was pacing in the room about debating whether or not to let Lois take him, you know, he actually, there was a plate of food on the floor, and every time he paced, he was going to be walking on the floor, but then would levitate over that plate of food back and forth. And it was just like a special effects shot that, you know, one of those little things they throw in there, you know. It would have been cool, but again, kind of unnecessary, because he could have just walked around it, you know?
Well, at the same time, he could have just, like, I don't know, picked it up.
Exactly.
Put it on the bench.
But I guess it would kind of show that he's just not, he's thinking about this problem so intensely, you know, because, like, Lois wants him, but he knows she's under the influence, so he can't do anything about it. So he's just not paying attention to anything, I guess. I don't know. The script had Clark saying he wasn't attracted to Lois at all, you know, at the end when they have that scene. You know, well, the perfume doesn't work if you don't have an underlying attraction. He goes, well, I guess I just wasn't attracted to you, you know, and he performs it very confidently in the show, in the actual episode, but in the script, he was supposed to be a little bit more sheepish about it. Like, well, I guess I wasn't attracted to you, I guess, you know, like that type of thing, you know. That's the implication anyway. So he was a lot more confident in the actual episode.
Yeah, he would have to be confident about it, or else she'd really get suspicious, right? That it didn't affect
exactly.
him. Yeah.
We see Jimmy asking Clark for hundreds of dollars. Like, can I borrow some money, you know? And Clark's like, what, you need 20? And he's like, well, like 800, so, you know, because he wants to buy like some dress or something to impress the supermodel. And there's a whole speech about it. Jimmy, you don't need to buy her things to impress her. She should like you for you, you know, the moral type thing. And speaking of money, Perry has a line at the end of the Heartbreak Hotel thing where he says it's $150 a night, you know? So little money matters right there. Yeah. And then finally, I'm glad they cut this out because this is a little bit too cheesy. I mean, the end scene we'll talk about anyway, but this cheesy note that, what's her name? Meredith. Was it Meredith? What's her name? I forget her name now.
Miranda. So
at the end here, this, Miranda, you know, has Lois tied up, you know, above the vat of boiling melathonian, whatever it was. And, she actually, Lois was supposed to be asleep when the scene started, and Miranda left a note for her that says, "Good morning, Lois. Have a nice death," you know, and then she was going to be lowered into the vat. And yeah, I was like, that's a little too cheesy. I mean, it was cheesy enough already, but this takes it up to a whole nother notch.
Yeah, for sure.
I say, is everything all right?
No, Nigel, something terrible's happened. Something catastrophic.
The collapse of the world financial market?
No. Nigel, something worse. Something far worse. Not like you or any other normal person, perhaps, but in my own strange, perverted way, I've succumbed. I've fallen in love. Hopelessly. Eternally. I'm in love with Lois Lane.
It's the perfume. Your mind's clouded.
No, Nigel, I'm really in love with her. I'm doomed.
Okay, so let's get into the main story. All right, so the lead here is Miranda and her pheromones.
Yes. Morgan Fairchild.
Morgan Fairchild, yes.
Yeah, this is the episode we thought we were talking about a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, I couldn't remember who played Miranda. I was thinking for some reason that it was Reba McEntire. Because I remember
that
saying,
would have
like,
fit too.
Yeah, because I thought it was like a country singer or something when we were trying to think about it. So that's who I was thinking it was. But no, it's Morgan Fairchild.
I think it's just the hair, because they both have that big hair that was popular back then, you know,
Yeah.
really done up and hairsprayed all to death. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but, you know, coincidentally, the Daily Planet is hosting the release of this new fragrance called Exclusive.
Yes.
So, you know, all the chess pieces are set for Miranda to come in and test out her pheromone that she's been working on at LexCorp. And I do really enjoy the scene where she comes in to see Lex because her budget has been cut, or I think he actually cut her off completely. I think he's just like done with her and her research. And it turns out that they were like sleeping together or something. And when he throws out, you're an itch that's been scratched. I was like, oh, sick burn.
That is harsh. Definitely. You know, I've never used that line. It's probably a good thing I never used it, but I'm like, that's a cool line. I mean, if you're of that persuasion to sleep around, I'm saying, you know.
Yeah, but that's the whole setup for it, is that she's been cut off, so we get this underlying thing of, you know, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes this pheromone, which she says she has actually completed, and Lex still doesn't want it. And she puts it into this perfume, which she is calling Revenge.
Yeah.
And she shows up at the Daily Planet and starts spraying everybody with it.
Well, I think he probably thought that she was just like saying it to get him to stay. That's what I'm figuring.
Of course, this whole thing that it's a diluted, like 1% formula that she's using. Mm-hmm. So it works. It gets everybody riled up. But as we're going to find out, it wears off after 48 hours. In Jimmy's case, though, I think because he gets like this adrenaline run, he's going to get run over by a truck and Superman saves him. It wears off then for him as well. They never quite develop that further, do they?
No, not really. They let that go. But yeah, it makes sense though, because the adrenaline rush I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, and of course Clark being unaffected by it because, well, he's Superman. So it works for me. So we keep talking about this every week, that this is really like the development of Lois and Clark's attraction for each other. And every week there's like something that comes up between them. And this is maybe a bit more to the extreme. But it makes me wonder how long it's actually going to play out before the two of them become a couple, because I really don't remember. Yeah, this is like really full on, right?
Yeah, I remember, and it gets really frustrating. It does, but it's still enjoyable. I still like the show, but I just remember when I first watched it, I'll be like, oh, come on, they got it already. They should be, like just constantly thinking that every week when I saw a new episode, I was like, oh man, come on, I can't take this. Keep going, So yeah, I don't want to say too much because I want it to be a surprise to you, however that may be.
But what did you think of like Lois throwing herself at Clark, like instantly being attracted to Clark?
Oh, well, I mean, it's good, with the whole, with the pheromone, of course, it's very easy. I like it. I think it's cool. It was funny. It made for very, very funny scenes. Like, this is a very funny episode overall. There's always some comedy in it, but this was really good. This is a lot of fun to watch. There's some really good scenes, which I think one comes up later on, in the back issues. There's one that comes up in the back issues later. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I like this this whole idea that she has, because she doesn't want to admit right away, because we've seen that already, doesn't want to admit right away that she kind of finds Clark interesting. Like, she is interested in him, but she doesn't want to admit that right out. So this is kind of like just letting it all out there. Now she can't resist, indicating how she feels about him.
I really liked how they tied it into, it's not just that you're playing with people's emotions or their sense of love, but the way the people are acting is going to have repercussions on their lives long term. It's not it's not just that, okay, you sprayed Lois and now she's really attracted to Clark, but now she's gone out, she's obsessed over him, she comes in and does that mating ritual dance, that Indian style dance, whatever it was.
Yeah, the dance of the seven veils, I think it was.
She's genuinely embarrassed by the things she's done. So I love that they sort of tackled those repercussions of the whole thing as well.
Oh yeah, and they didn't do the old thing of like, oh, I can't remember anything. After it wore off, I can't remember a thing. Like, they remember it all.
The way that Clark sort of came around to suspecting Miranda, I thought was maybe a little weak. I mean, like, I understand, like, he thought, oh, Miranda sprayed us with that perfume, but there was a lot of people spraying perfume up in there. And sure, maybe hers smelled a little funky or something like that, but he kind of just instantly went, oh yeah, that woman Miranda sprayed us with that thing. And then he's looking through things, and then he's looking through a magazine, and then tracks her down, so they go and like speak to her that way. So it was a bit like, oh yeah, okay, maybe.
A little bit of a plot device there, but that's all right. We can forgive it.
But I thought when they go and see Miranda, I thought Morgan Fairchild was doing a great job. That scene when they're in her perfumery and sort of trying to figure her out. I thought it was really well done.
She chews the scenery up, though. She's just so into playing the bad guy. For me, like I said, she was a little bit, she was definitely very good. Great actress, of course. But it reminded me a little bit, like I said in the synopsis, of like the 1966 Batman, where the villain is like so just like over, what's the word? Over, I don't know. And like the way she talks and her plans and everything are just so giant,
Yeah, melodramatic.
Melodramatic. There you go. Yeah, it's just a bit melodramatic for me, but that's okay. I mean, like I said, it worked, and it was funny because this was a funny episode, so it worked really well. It wouldn't have been the same if they tried to play it off as more serious, I guess.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially because this episode is written by Deborah Joy Levine, who is the showrunner here. You kind of see the lightheartedness of it that she's actually trying to go for here. You can tell she's trying to sort of inject that into it. We're not going to take it too seriously, and yes, at the end of the day, this is a love story, so let's have this like full-on love thing going.
Right.
So yeah, still a bit cheesy, still a bit 66 Batman-ish,
right,
but updated a little bit for the 90s.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The other thing I found very interesting was when Miranda attempted to use revenge on Lex, and he has no reaction to it.
Yeah, that's our first inkling that the formula does not seem to always work for some reason. Like, why isn't he falling for her? He should be like all over her, but he's not. And that's when we find out later, that it only works if you have an underlying attraction to the person. So it even makes it even worse for Miranda when he says, that she was a itch to be scratched. Like, he really meant that. Isn't this not a line for him? Like, he found nothing about her that he really found attractive at all.
Yeah, I wish a little bit that it didn't start to affect him later when he's at dinner with Lois, because I kind of wish that it was like this whole thing where Lex just is like a heartless son of a bitch. Like, he's so heartless that he's just removed from all kinds of emotion.
Yeah, it kind of comes up like that's how in the comics, that's how he was at the time. He was kind of very ruthless, very heartless. I remember in one of the first episodes of the reboot that they did, like, there was something about a woman who was a waitress, and like he offered her like all this money or something like that if she would like quit her job and leave this life behind and never come back. He said, I'll give you all this if you just leave this little diner and never come back and never look back on your life. You can have all this money I'll give you. You have to make that decision right now. Like, you can't say goodbye to anybody, you can't do this or that. And he leaves to go into his limo, and he gives her like 5 minutes or something like that to make the decision. And it shows her like struggling with the decision. And finally she comes to the decision. And as she decides she's going to do it and she comes out of the diner, he drives off. And so like now she has to live with the knowledge that she would just give up her entire life and family and friends for money. So like he totally like, did that on purpose. Like, he enjoyed doing that. There was a scene where he says that was just fabulous. Exactly. So that's the Lex that I understand. That'd be cool to have seen that rather than what we saw here. I'm okay with what we saw here, because I know where it's going and everything. I'm fine with it. But yeah, that's the Lex that I really enjoyed from the comics.
They get into this whole thing about how Miranda is going to cover Metropolis with revenge, because they set it up right at the beginning, is that they're going to do some crop dusting over Metropolis.
Yes, because the fruit flies.
Yeah. So many crops in a major city, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I guess the fruit flies can be annoying, because they're worse than regular flies, because they're just like, they're so tiny, they're so much faster. It's like, it's hard to like get them, So I understand their pain.
Yeah, but are they really growing fruit? Like, outside, this is a major city. Like, any fruit where fruit flies would be in a shop or in your house.
Right. Exactly.
So, a little bit like, okay, whatever.
It's fine.
I'll let it go. I don't quite buy it, but I'll let it go.
Yeah.
So she can take these crop dusting planes, put revenge in it, and she can fly across Metropolis and mess everybody up with this concentrated formula where it'll be permanent. And then, again, it's developing it further. It's not that it's just going to make people fall in love like the 1% did. It'll be permanent, and then it will turn into fear and despair, and it'll just tear the whole city apart. And of course, Superman gets a call from Lex.
Yes.
Which is interesting, because we had it the other way round the other week, where Superman had to get in contact with Lex and get information from him. So this time it's the reverse, where Lex is like, oh my God, I cannot let this happen. Where Clark finds Superman however you can. We need his help. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good turnaround.
And then, of course, him like sucking in the spray and then blowing it in her face. You're a bit like, oh, wow.
Yeah. The whole plane scene, I was just like, oh, really? This is a bit much. Like, she's flying in the plane, she's got the goggles on and everything. And it's like, to me, it looked a little bit, it was just too cheesy. It looked a little bad to me. I was like, I don't like this scene. Definitely not. I mean, there's some questionable flying scenes, so far, but they're nothing that really like took me out of the episode, really, because that's what they got. But when she's flying the plane, I'm like, how does she even know how to fly a plane, first of all? Like, why not have a henchman who knows how to fly, or force someone who was going to fly the plane at gunpoint to take her up, I was just like, she just knows how to fly a plane, I guess. And to me, the green screen was obvious.
Yeah, and of course they throw in that line too, where Superman's like, well, I diluted it, so she'll be fine.
Right.
Don't worry about
exactly. It. Yes.
Okay then. But then, of course, Lois coming up to him and saying, so Superman, are you all right? Like, it didn't affect you. He breaks the fourth wall, turns around, looks at you, right down the camera, pops his eyebrows up and down, and then gives her a big kiss. And you're like, ooh, okay. And Lex's reaction to it, priceless.
I had to watch that scene just a few times just to make sure, because like he looks right in the camera, but then he does shift his eyes. I think he realized what he had done, and he shifted his eyes off to the side a little bit before he raised his eyebrows. But he looked directly in the camera for a split second there, and I was like, "Oh, look at that!" And then he moved over his eyes just a little bit, just to show that it wasn't totally, looking right at the camera. But yeah, I was like, "Oh, wait, let me check that again. Did he actually do that?" He did, which I like, because I don't know if you've never watched the old George Reeves show from the 50s of Superman. You ever see that?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, occasionally he would also do that. Like he would look at the viewer at home and give him a wink, and when Lois would say something like, "Thank goodness Superman was around," and he'd be like, "Yes, Lois, thank goodness he was," wink, to the camera. So it's kind of a little tribute to that, I think, But yeah, Lex's reaction was like, "Oh my God."
Oh, Lois, don't.
It was good. It was some good. I like that.
All right, so bylines.
All right.
Opening scene. They're going with these cold opens, right?
Yes. That have nothing to do with anything else.
Daily life with superpowers and a positive recycling message.
Yes. It was. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I guess this is when recycling was really starting to take off.
It's not just trash anymore.
Right, exactly. I will say, though, that when he gets down to the ground, he goes to run. He does such a cartoon, Looney Tunes style, like wind up, doesn't he?
Yes.
Like his arms go back and he looks ahead and zoom, you can almost see like the effect of smoke behind him, Yeah, it was a little cartoony.
Cooking eggs with his heat vision, too. I was like,
right.
Oh, man. I wonder how many of these we're going to get as we keep going forward.
I know we have a bunch in this season. I don't know. I don't remember if they actually continue those past this season, though. I remember a lot of them from this first season only. So we'll see.
All right. The employees of the Daily Planet and their attempts at love. We got Jimmy going after the model, Kat getting with that random office guy, and that was fun. Perry going after the cleaning lady, Rahelia.
Yes, that was the best. Right, of the three of them, Jimmy's is like, meh, all right. Kat's was like, it's pretty funny. But then Perry's is like, this is awesome. This is so good. Oh my God, he was so great. Like he dresses up as Elvis.
When he's in the hallway singing to her. Yeah. Oh my God, that was so good.
Oh, it was great. It was really great.
And the aftermath for Perry as well was great. He's got the bandage on his nose, and he goes, "She kicked me out. Called me a no-good hound dog. Now I'm down at the Heartbreak Hotel."
Exactly. Yes. It was a well done storyline.
Yeah, right? And even Kat's like at the end too, where she's like, "Sprayed? I didn't get sprayed." Like that's just what she does at work.
Yeah, exactly. She's being herself, I love it. We get the first inkling here of Lois thinking Clark looks like Superman.
Ah, yes, I love that. Of course, they have to explain that away at the end. Every woman thinks her man looks like Superman, but
exactly.
Yeah, it does make you sort of perk your eyebrows up a little bit and go,
It does. I remember some things, and I think they happen in this season, but I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure they happen in this season, but we'll find out when we get there. But it's like you don't want that to happen too soon, that she knows he's Superman, because it's like all those sitcoms where you're like, will they or won't they? Like, are they going to get married? Are they going to get together? And then when they finally do, like the show kind of changes. It's not quite the same. The dynamic changes. So it's like, well, we want her to know, but we don't want her to know so soon because there's a good dynamic going on here. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about this part.
Yeah, and if they did push it too soon. Like, say it happened by the end of the season, you'd be like, well, where the hell are they going to go from here? It would be kind of weird to have them, like, get together so early and then break up and then get back together and stuff. And you're just like, yeah, she knows he's Superman. So if they broke up, like, what would she do? And, all that stuff. Like, it would just be like, ugh.
It's so funny because I remember the basic idea of what's coming. And since you don't, I'm like, mum's the word.
Okay.
Not saying anything. Not saying anything. You go down that rabbit hole, Corey.
Yeah, this is gonna. Yeah. Just have to wait and see, I guess.
It's gonna sit here and twiddle my thumbs.
All right. Well, I guess it's quote vote time.
All right.
What's everybody standing around for? This is a newspaper, not happy hour at Buckingham Palace. What are we here, the Daily Planet? We're second stringers from the Weehawken and Gazette.
Am I making myself perfectly clear?
Still not a lot of people voting over there. And some people are actually just voting for the episodes in general. People are like, oh, yeah. Honeymoon in Metropolis. That's a great episode. I'm going on there. I'm like, yeah, but you want to vote for a quote?
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, we need you to vote for the actual quote from the episode. That helps. That helps us.
But we do have a pretty long one here, so let's get into it, shall we?
All right.
Cue the music.
Mr. Movie Trailer is relaxing in a jacuzzi when the phone rings.
Yes.
Working hard?
No, Mr. Movie Phone. I'm relaxing.
Yeah, right. How's the view?
It's wonderful.
He rolls over and looks out the window.
I don't believe it.
Mr. Movie Trailer sees some shady business in the opposite building. You don't believe what, Mr. Movie Trailer? He scrabbles around in his bag for a camera.
Where are those? Yes, it's wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Mr. Movie Trailer, are you okay? He looks out the window again.
Congressman Harrington.
How's the bed?
The bed is just great. I'm in the jacuzzi. Can you hold on a second?
Mr. Movie Trailer. Mr. Movie Trailer. Hello.
Yes.
Is the TV on?
No. I mean yes. The TV. It's on.
You get a good night's sleep.
I will.
Mr. Movie Trailer, I didn't think you had it in you.
You didn't. What?
Your ability to take a whole weekend off. Congratulations.
I've got to go. I've got to get back to relaxing. And scene. Very cool. Very robotic.
Yes. I like that. I like it.
All right. Well, let's get into our second episode discussion today, shall we?
All right. Yep.
The episode is Honeymoon in Metropolis, written by Daniel Levine, directed by James A. Contner. Contner.
You gotta be careful with that one.
Contner.
Be careful with that name. Pronunciation.
And this originally aired December 12th of 1993.
Isn't that Congressman Ian Harrington?
Chairman of the House Defense Committee.
And the most notoriously sexy man in Washington.
Unsubstantiated rumors.
The best kind.
Jimmy? Who's that joker?
We don't know, but I'm running the Identifile program looking for a match.
We do know the offices are leased to a company called Apocalypse Consulting. Chief, I was just thinking.
Let me just take a wild guess here. You want the Daily Planet to put you up in the honeymoon suite until we can figure out what's happening with Apocalypse Consulting.
Thanks, Chief.
Now, wait. Just hold on, Lois. We're talking a major surveillance operation here.
This is major. A Washington VIP selling highly classified information.
Maybe I should contact my source. The source. Find out if there's anything to this before we get in too deep.
You don't...
Don't even think about saying that name.
Who?
Hey! Okay, you guys. You got 3 nights.
Guys?
You and Clark.
Did you say Clark?
I heard him say Clark. He definitely said Clark.
Definitely.
I'm not staying in the honeymoon suite with Clark. How would that look?
The honeymoon suite? It's a natural.
But...
Lois, think this through. How are you going to maintain round-the-clock surveillance all by yourself? You're going to need help.
But
Besides, what hotel's going to sit still while we're using it as a base for spy operations? You need a cover. What better cover than honeymooners in the honeymoon suite?
It would be business, Lois. Strictly business.
Now, that's the deal. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
Good.
Just don't try anything funny.
While taking a night off from work to relax in the Lexar Hotel honeymoon suite, Lois happens to see a meeting across the street in a neighboring building between Congressman Harrington and an unknown individual later revealed to be Thaddeus Rourke. Lois and Clark pose as a newly married couple and put the room across the way under surveillance. This eventually leads to Lois sneaking over to the room to grab evidence, which results in them finding a report of a government weapons test happening in the next few days. Harrington's deal with Rourke was that Rourke would sabotage the weapons test so that Harrington could push through his weapons system instead. After their room is raided and their evidence lost, Lois tries to get more evidence on Rourke, but gets herself captured by him and finds herself tied up with Harrington at the site of the weapons test. Due to the sabotage, however, it causes a giant tsunami to begin to arise and head towards Metropolis. But luckily, Superman shows up and is able to turn the tide away, saving everyone.
Have you ever lived with anyone? I mean, full-time relationship with a member of the opposite sex?
No, not full-time.
Me neither. I mean, full-time.
Hmm.
What do you think it's like?
I guess scary at first.
Compromises.
Forced intimacy.
Sharing responsibilities.
And you're never alone.
You're never alone.
Of course, that's nothing like what we're doing now.
No, of course not. I mean, this is artificial.
And temporary.
Charade.
It's an act.
Pure make-believe. What is it?
I heard something.
You heard something? What do you mean?
All right, so let's get into our investigation.
All right, so for some reason, I found this on the Lois and Clark wiki. ABC never re-aired this season 1 episode. I guess other episodes they re-aired just fine, but for some reason they never re-aired this one. I don't know why. It's a strange thing. Like, there's nothing particularly bad about this episode or, like controversial, but they just never re-aired it for some reason. And actually, I didn't discover this until too late, but this was actually supposed to be episode 12. The episode 13 was called Witness, which we'll see, next week. That was supposed to air here right after the pheromone episode. But for some reason, they pushed Witness back 2 episodes. Don't know why. It wasn't explained or anything. Just said it was supposed to be here, and now it's there. We missed out on the production order a little bit there.
Damn.
Yeah, I know, because I didn't find out until I don't do the investigation bits until after I've seen both episodes and after I do the synopsis on my notes, and so I started looking for the stuff, and I'm like, oh, well, look at that. It's supposed to be this way, So unfortunately, we messed up on that. But I hope you'll all forgive us.
Yeah, there wasn't much about Pheromone, My Lovely, that made you go, I wish I'd seen something in the next episode that tied back to this one or something. So I guess we can still kind of get away with it.
Exactly. We're okay. Now, we got some, I guess, normally, I forgot to mention, but we get these deleted scenes and such from iReactions, who goes and reads the scripts that are available and compares them to the actual aired version, so we appreciate that. And he made a note here about Sore Throat from the episode. Now, when you saw Sore Throat, what did you think he was supposed to be a parody of?
Deep Throat, right?
From
the Woodward and Bernstein.
Oh, okay. All right. Just making sure. Yeah. The whole Nixon Watergate scandal. Yeah. Because, that's what I thought, too. Even when I first saw the episode back in the day, I knew about that. But apparently some people thought that he was supposed to be a parody of Deep Throat from The X-Files, because his character had just appeared in The X-Files a couple months earlier. So people were thinking it was like an allusion to that. But no, it was for the old history of the presidential scandal. There were more people talking on the surveillance machine that Lois and Clark had in the room, how they were listening into people's conversations. There was going to be some more people talking. There was supposed to be 2 guys talking about girls and how they just sort of like, treat them badly and they just sleep with them and leave them, that type of thing. So they just cut that out because you didn't really need it. Lois and Clark were supposed to be in the hot tub together playing cards instead of where they were, like on the couch or at the table, which I thought would have been a weird scene because I don't think they're that comfortable with each other that they would be in the hot tub together, So kind of glad they took that out. That would have fit in the last episode just fine. But in this one, I don't know. It would have made them a little bit too comfortable with each other, I think, if they were both in the hot tub at this point. And then that was going to dissolve to the scene where Clark says he can't make the rent. And they show the board that they're actually playing. It's called Metropoly or whatever, like Monopoly, that type of thing. Yeah. The line about how Lois plays to win, you know, and she goes, fine, I win, you lose, and we're all happy. That was apparently improvised. It wasn't in the script. So they added it, you know, at the last moment, or she just made it up on the spot. And Harrington's line about when he says to Rourke, you can't, millions of people. That was apparently not in the script either. So they either, you know, redubbed it or dubbed it in later, or they just added it in later.
Cool.
Yeah. In the script, Clark explains to his parents that he's undercover with Lois. You know, when they're all like, what's going on? You're in the honeymoon suite, you know? And yeah. And then there was a line from Jonathan about how come we weren't invited to the ceremony, you know? But like, it just didn't make sense, you know? So they took that out. So so they're confused more easily. You know, if he says he's undercover, they're like, oh, well, that explains it then, you know? So it makes sense they took that out. There was more of the Lois and Clark going back and forth in the bathroom. Like we saw them sort of like brushing their teeth and sort of like getting each other's way. But originally it was going to be more like she was going to be in the shower and then he was going to knock on the door and saying he had to use the facilities, you know, and just, oh, okay, let me just get out of there, you know, and she gets out of there and he goes in and he takes a shower and then she forgets her toothbrush. So she comes in and then she's in there brushing her teeth and he comes out and he's, oh, yeah, I forgot my toothbrush. You know, like this going back and forth, an extended scene basically of what we saw, you know, just trying to hammer it home that it's really like it's uncomfortable living with someone for the first time when you're don't have the routine down.
Yeah, they really aren't used to it.
Yeah, we got the idea though. They did pretty good in the episode proper. So there was an establishing shot in the beginning of the episode where there was a teddy bear on the bed, you know, the big heart-shaped bed or the circle bed or whatever she had. So there was a teddy bear. You're like, well, what's the big deal about the teddy bear? Well, after the room is raided, you know, and all the evidence taken, Lois says something like, yeah, he'll stoop to anything. And they show a shot of the teddy bear with it, like slashed open, you know, all the stuffing pulled out of it. It's like,
oh, the poor teddy.
It's a little cheesy, but I get the idea, you know. And then finally, we were going to get a scene, or actually I just say a line of Perry saying, great shades of Elvis, you know, when he hears about Lois being in trouble or something. So it was, you know, I love Perry. So, you know, anytime we cut any of his lines, it's like a sad day.
No, we don't cut Perry lines. He has to say them all.
What would I do if I were her?
Well, something impetuous.
And headstrong. And dangerous.
Anyone else hungry?
No, thank you.
Oh, Lex, what are you doing here?
Perry, Mr. Kent, Cat, whoever. Luther Technologies has approximately $500 million in research and development tied up in a project codenamed Shockwave. Even the name is top secret, yet you, Mr. Kent, call me up. You tell me not only do you know about the project, but that you suspect that Thaddeus Rourke, a man with whom I've had previous unsatisfactory dealings, intends upon sabotaging the impending test, a test which commences in 6.5 minutes. So, under the circumstances, I might have elected to stay home and watch reruns of Flipper on the late-night cable channel, but I decided to come here. Now, what is going on?
We've had Rourke and Congressman Ian Harrington under surveillance. Now, Rourke is positive that your system will fail its test, leaving the door wide open for his system to be adopted instead.
Ooh, Italian would be good. Hey, a little linguine and clam sauce.
Rourke and Harrington? I should have known. You say Rourke is positive?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that implies sabotage. No one ever described Thaddeus Rourke as an incurable optimist.
Now, Lex, how can your system be sabotaged?
As far as I know, it can't.
But Rourke is a weapons expert.
He is?
Maybe Mexican. Chicken enchiladas.
What about a power failure?
There's too many backups.
Besides, Rourke hinted at something more than a simple breakdown. Something bigger.
Ooh, Japanese. Ooh, I could go for Japanese. Hey, how about some of that tsunami?
Tsunami?
Tsunami. A giant wave caused by an undersea tremor.
Shockwave.
And Apocalypse Consulting has a warehouse on Pier 31.
Where's Lois Lane?
Alright, so let's get into our main story here. The lead on this one is Lois taking the day off to go and relax. She can only get the honeymoon suite, but while she's there, she comes across this congressman doing some shady stuff in the next building.
Exactly.
Yeah, I kind of like this setup, you know, this whole thing about Lois having to take a day off and nobody believing that she's actually doing it.
Yeah, they're like, are you doing this? Are you going here? You're covering this? Yeah, it was kind of funny.
She's completely prepared for what she sees, you know, as soon as she notices it, out comes the binoculars, out comes the camera, and she's going to go ahead and try to figure out what's going on. And she brings the story back to them. But, I thought it was a pretty funny scene where Clark calls her up and she's trying to, take the photos and stuff. And she's, juggling the phone and the camera and the binoculars while sitting in the tub.
Yeah, it's great that she has all that stuff with her. It really shows that she is into her job. She is an investigative reporter. And she's going to be ready no matter what.
Yeah, and she was looking pretty bored. She's walking around, she's flicking the TV, she's, eating something from a minibar. She just looks so bored.
Because it's just not her normal, you know? Yeah, I got to say, my girlfriend is someone who always keeps going. So to get her to relax is very difficult. So I identified with this quite a bit. She gets bored if she's just sitting around doing nothing. Whereas I can sit around and do nothing for hours and I am fine, But I could really identify with Lois here. I'm like, oh, I know this person. I'm very familiar with this person.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I myself, I started my current job that I do now. I started that about 2 years ago. I haven't taken a single holiday in that whole 2 years. I got called in the office the other day to say, hey, you need to take 3 weeks worth of holidays before the end of year. I'm like, yeah, but what would I do? Where would I go?
Oh, you people, I tell you, I am expert at relaxing.
So yeah, I can see where they're coming from here. And so she kind of gets this whole thing. She recognizes the congressman. She gets some photos. She takes it all to Perry. I guess Perry, even though he's penny pinching here. Of course, Lois manages to talk him into setting them up in the honeymoon suite, her and Clark, so they can continue this investigation and find out what the hell this congressman is doing. And they figure out pretty quickly that the guy he's meeting with is this guy named Rourke, who is a prototypical Bond-like bad guy, right?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Weapons expert who is crazy maniacal. Mm-hmm. And he's pretty much paying off this congressman to vote against this weapons thing that LexCorp has been developing so Rourke can get in. Right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
That's kind of the thing. I did want to call out, too, that Rourke is played by Charles Cyphers.
I've seen him before.
We talked about him in Sliders. He was in the Eggheads episode. He was
that's right. He was the coach.
Yeah.
That's right.
I know him as the sheriff from John Carpenter's Halloween.
Okay.
That's where I recognize him from. But yeah, he was in Sliders for the Eggheads episode.
That's right. Sliders. I was getting memories, I'm like, memories all alone in the moonlight. The good old days of Sliders.
Ah, yes. But, this whole weapons thing and this undercover operation is really just a crutch to get Lois and Clark alone in the honeymoon suite and sort of get into having the conversation about, have you lived with somebody full time before? Have you ever had a long-term relationship? And then have the interplay between the two of them, quote unquote, living together, right?
Well, that was great. Like I said, they had that deleted scene where they were even going back and forth in the bathroom, back and forth more. I would have loved to have seen that because it's just fun, because they're stumbling over each other, trying to figure out how to actually exist in this place together. It was fun. It was definitely a fun episode. Both of these episodes were very fun. I enjoyed them. It's not they're not the greatest episodes ever. They're not what I would call defining episodes for me of Lois and Clark, but they were fun. They were enjoyable to watch again.
I particularly like the montage of them playing games together.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's good fun. It's they're just being normal people. It's cool.
The idea that Lois plays to win, whereas Clark plays to just play.
Yeah,
I thought was just a great little back and forth. And of course, Lois isn't going to admit that she is super she has to win. That's how driven she is.
I try to play just to have fun, but I get very competitive. I like winning, and when I'm losing, I'm like, whatever.
I guess you're the Lois in this relationship because
I
play to play.
There you go. I never would have suspected I'm the Lois.
But yeah, it was good. Just her reactions to it, putting down the word in Scrabble, chumpy. And
yes,
you call
chumpy.
that a dictionary? She can't get the trivia question, even though her time's up. And she's like, as soon as the clock gives her the answer, she's, I knew that. Come on.
I think I've seen like this type of scene in another series or something, because I remember someone playing a word somewhere and someone saying, well, I'll look up in the dictionary. And they said, that's your dictionary? And then they pulled out like a giant dictionary, because I was waiting for her to do that. And I'm like, oh, wait, that must be from a different show or something. I remember that from happening somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah, but why would she have like a giant like encyclopedia dictionary in the hotel?
I know. A little light reading, you know.
And then they do this whole thing where she breaks into the office after the congressman, his name's Harrington, right? She breaks into the office after they're gone, and then Superman has to go over and save her by setting off the sprinklers and all that.
And she drops her ID.
Conveniently
her credit
enough.
card. Really? Come on.
Yeah.
Like, it was just hanging out of her purse because she had to run real quickly because she heard people coming. No.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was like, why did you take your purse to a break-in? Like, why would you do that? If you're going to break in somewhere, don't take your wallet or your purse with you.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, so yeah, the whole thing is that Lex and LexCorp have devised this thing called Shockwave, and they give this arbitrary explanation of what it is. It has something to do with creating a barrier of some kind around the United States or something that can detect when foreign objects are flying in or something.
Yeah, and it somehow calculates a response equal to whatever is attacking them. So whatever the thing is that's flying at them, it would like create a barrier or something that would stop it, just enough energy or whatever. However, I was assuming it would be some kind of like force field type thing, like, hence like the word shockwave, or it would cause like a shockwave that would knock the objects back or something, but it would only use enough force that was needed. Like, it wouldn't use too much force. So if they threw like a yo-yo at the United States, it would just be a little force field that comes up and bumps it back, is what I was thinking. But, in this case, of course, Rourke sabotages it to make the system think that it's like a huge, major weapon that's coming. So that's where we get the tsunami from later.
Yeah, and this whole tsunami thing, the way they figure it out is really contrived, because Kat is sitting there talking about like what we're gonna eat. We're gonna eat the Mexican. We're gonna get China.
I know.
Oh, how about we get some of that tsunami? Tsunami. Oh, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, it's too bad, because like I like Kat's character, but they do make her, they do play her off as kind of dumb quite a bit. It's like, I don't think she's dumb. I think she's just focused on the gossip side of things. Just because you're focused on the gossip side of things doesn't mean you're necessarily dumb. You're not necessarily just not smart, but it's like she could have paid attention to the conversation, but she's just like, oh, I think I'll have this, or what about this? How about this? Like she doesn't care at all. I don't know if that's really who she really is.
Yeah, totally. And actually, I think we neglected to talk about this in the last episode, but of course that episode ended with Lex realizing his unconditional love for Lois.
Yeah, we mentioned it a little bit. Yeah, we didn't discuss it too much, but yeah.
But of course, his reaction here, like when they think, "Oh, tsunami," his first thing is like, "Where is Lois Lane?"
Right.
Like, this is not good.
Plays off of that, I think, definitely.
Yeah. So we're really getting these touches of Lex attraction for Lois and wanting to make sure that she is safe at all times, and even if it means his grander plans being put in jeopardy, as long as she's safe, he needs to worry about it. And it's kind of what he says, I'm doomed.
Right.
Maybe he would actually love to see Metropolis taken out by a giant tsunami. I mean, it's not his fault in this case. His weapon was tampered with. But yeah, it's this thing of like, can he go forward with evil plans from here on because of his attraction to Lois? So yeah, I thought that was all pretty good.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's good see, this is the type of thing I'm thinking of, just the continuity, like they're developing that relationship with him and Lois. So it's good. I like it.
We also have this whole thing about Perry and his sauce. Like he calls him the sauce, the ultimate sauce. Sore throat. Not as impactful as I thought it would be. By the end, like they go to see this guy, he just gives them some like info, some stuff that kind of just leads them to LexCorp. Really, at the end of the day, it's like, who else would it have been? Come on.
I thought, at first, before he says what the name is, I'm like, oh, well, that's all right. So he's got a big source that he hasn't used in a while, because he's an editor now. He's not really a newspaper reporter anymore. So he has this source that he hasn't used in such a long time. Like, okay, that'd be cool. But then, like, once he said his name was Sore Throat, I was like, okay, this is being played for comedy. Okay, they're not actually being serious here. This is being a little jokey. So, yeah.
Yeah, but all in all, I thought, just as a means of getting Lois and Clark together for an extended period of time and sort of maybe getting used to each other and placing that little seed of the two of them being together, it was actually pretty good, and the side part of it with the weapon being sabotaged and stuff it was fine.
And it plays off well with the episode before. Actually, maybe that's why they put these two episodes back to back.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it sort of does, play off of what happened in the last episode with them, like Lois being all over him, and now they're being forced to be in the same room for 3 days, and they have to like sort of get along, and the awkwardness of them trying to get along in this bathroom and everything. It makes sense now that I think about it after the last episode. So maybe that's why they switched it around.
Especially knowing how this season is going to play out, because I definitely remember how this season plays out.
Okay.
I can see why they're planting all this stuff now, so they can really start building up to where it's going to end at the end of the season. So not too bad. All right, so some bylines here. I really thought it was funny that the hotel was called the Lexor.
Yes. I like that.
Just a random thing. You can just imagine, like, when they were writing the script or something like that, and they're like, what can we call this hotel? It's supposed to be really nice, like the Luxor in Vegas or something like that. Let's call it the Lexor.
And speaking of the Lexor, we got Kat, who knows the honeymoon suite in the Lexor quite well. Quite well.
So random. When she's fixing herself a drink.
Yeah. She knows all the switches and devices and the clap on, clap off thing. And scratched her name in the underneath the tablecloth. Yeah, it was good. It was funny.
The other stuff with the hotel room, the random scene about tipping the bellboy who's like a little too nosy. It was a bit like, and then the woman bringing them towels. Like, they do that twice.
Yeah, they do. The second time was like, what? All right, that's enough of her.
Her accent was just terrible, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was very bad. It was so like, that's like acting 101 right there. It's so typical. Like, oh, yeah, okay.
She comes in, she's just like, fresh towels? Oh, yeah. And off she walked, and I was like, what the hell was that?
Exactly. I know. It was bad. Although the guy who played not the busboy, the bellhop, I've seen him in other things. I know he played Ray Romano's brother, I think, on his show. Everybody Loves Raymond, I think, or not like, or was he? Maybe he was just a friend of Raymond's. I forget. I've seen him on that show because he's very similar to Ray Romano. I'm not thinking of the big Brad Garrett guy. I thought for some reason I thought he was like a cousin or something of Ray on that show. I'm not positive, but I remember seeing him on that show.
Yeah, but he's definitely a TV that guy. Like,
I've
seen him around. I don't know who he is, but I've seen him in stuff.
Exactly. It's like, oh, there's that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the interplay between Lois and Clark, but I specifically like the part where they went to bed. Clark's on the couch, Lois is in the bed.
Right.
And they have to restrain themselves from peeking back into the room or something like that. Lois does it first, and then they show Clark doing it.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was interesting.
It was a neat little scene, and like he doesn't want to use his X-ray vision, like he'd be in the stand-up superhero again. So, yeah.
And the good night too. Good night, Lois. Yeah. Good night, Lois. I thought that was really good. And then when they brought it back at the end, when she calls him up from the honeymoon suite, that she got called.
Right.
Good night, Clark. Good night, Clark. I thought it was really nice. Okay, I got to bring this point up. When Rourke has a video of like what his plan is to show to Harrington, and they close the shutters, Clark goes to use his X-ray vision and goes, lead lined. I'm like, lead lined wooden shutters? What? As if.
I think that's like an add-on you can get at Home Depot. If you ask, they
lead line your wooden shutters for you. Yeah.
Yes, because you never know when you need to keep yourself private from Superman. So.
Yeah, that was just so lame. I was like, they needed a reason why they could block themselves out from letting our main cast know what was going on. But that was just a lame excuse. That was.
Yeah, I never thought about that until you brought it up. Before that I was just like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can't let that one go. That is for me, I was like, that is just ridiculous. No.
You know what? I have to say, I couldn't let it rest. The guy who plays the bellhop, he played Ray Romano's cousin, Gerard.
I don't know. There you go.
Cousin Gerard. I had to find out because I was like, I know he was in that. I know he was in that show. I got to find out. So I looked it up. There you go. Cousin Gerard. Anyway.
Nice one.
Okay, so now Clark's parents call the honeymoon suite. You know, they got the number from Perry, and it leads to this funny scene with them mistaking, Lois and Clark having gotten married. That's why they're in the honeymoon suite. Yeah, it was a good scene. It was fun. I listened to the other guys, Lois and Clark, the other podcast that's going on along with ours about the show, and they had a guest on, Lori Collins. And she mentioned this, and I thought this was a great point that I never thought about before. So I figured we'll bring it up here. And Lori Collins, she mentioned that if you notice, whenever Clark is talking to his parents, Pa Kent is always on the corded phone, and Ma Kent is always on the cordless phone. It's just like this little touch of how like he's old school and she's more like, nouveau, like she's like modern. Right. And that's, like she's the one always taking like the art classes and education, trying to better herself.
She knows what a fax machine is.
Exactly. I thought that was a good point. I never picked up on that in all the years of watching, but now that I got that, I'm like, I'm going to keep watching for future episodes to see, to see that. Cause that's a neat point to be made. So that's from the Lois and Clark podcast. And they had a guest on, like I said, Lori Collins. So definitely check out, there's so much suddenly, just like with Sliders, there's so much Lois and Clark material out there. So yeah, you got two of us now you can listen to.
And we've said it before, love the scenes where Clark's on the phone with the parents and they're on the two lines on one end, he's talking to them.
Exactly.
Great little like vignette scenes to sort of help Clark get his mind around what's going on.
Exactly.
Hello?
You'll never guess where I am. Our former love nest.
The honeymoon suite? How?
Just the management's way of apologizing for any inconvenience suffered during our stay.
I was the one who never got to use the bedroom.
Well, this will give you something to look forward to. When you find the right woman, of course.
Of course.
So relaxing here. I've got the drapes closed.
Well, this is all very fascinating, Lois, but I am beat. I think I'll turn in.
Me too. Clark?
What? Was there something else?
No, nothing. It's just... Well... Good night, Clark. Good night, Clark.
Good night, Lois.
All right, so let's get into some back issues here.
All right, now, this is a big week for us. For the first time ever, we have some posts from the actual week this episode aired. Yes. It was like, and it's very strange. Now, I don't understand the way these forums work and the way their search algorithm works or whatever, because I typed in pheromone and it came up with a bunch of stuff somewhat related to it, but not quite. Like it gave me some things from the episode, but it was from a later time period. Okay. Then right from that search box, I added My Lovely to the end of it. And then it brought up a couple posts here from that time period. All right. From that actual week. But then my browser closed. Okay. So I opened it back up and I typed in pheromone My Lovely. Then it didn't bring up that thing again. It didn't bring up that post. So I had to type pheromone again, get those results, and then type in My Lovely after it, and then it brought up the post again. It's very strange. I don't know why. That's the way it did it. So
these old forums are no Google.
I know, exactly. Even though they are on Google. They are on the Google forums.
Weird.
At least hosted by them. I don't know. Anyway, so the one person posting here said that this whole Lex in love with Lois thing was a bit much for them. They said, I hope this plays out very quickly. Like, they weren't interested in it, really. They said, although it would be interesting to see, Lex try to win Lois away from Superman and Clark. But they felt like this could become like a plot device and very boring very quickly. I understand where they're going. Like, I understand what they're saying with that. Because there are times in the upcoming episodes, I know that I'm like, oh man, it's like, come on, let's move along. So I kind of get what they're saying.
Well, at the same time, we're still working with the old 21, 22 episode structure, and TV shows still do it today.
Right.
But we're kind of steering towards the more 10 or 13 episode structure, which tends to move stories along quicker. But yeah, we're still dealing with this 21, 22 episode structure here, so it's going to play out for a little while longer.
They were also saying that in the comics, Lois resists Luther. At least at this time in the comics when they were rebooting things, Lois was not interested in Luther beyond just like a story. And I remember there were times when I remember one, I could see it in my head. It's like one of the first couple issues where he tries to like hit on her or something like that, and she just storms out, because she's not having it. And that is what makes Luther want her, the fact that she doesn't want him. So that like it's like the whole thing like, well, I can't have her, so I want her. That's what they kind of like about the Luther from the comics. He's a little bit different than the one that we have in the episode.
Yeah, well, we've said it before. They're going with something really different here, so it's going to play out differently for sure.
Yeah, they're wondering, is this supposed to make Luther like sympathetic? When they start making him be the one who's in love with her, like, is that what they're going for with that?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I never thought about it before.
Not sympathetic, really. Just, I don't know, like a chink in his armor in a way. I kind of take it the way he looks at it. He's doomed. So
right.
Yeah, it's like a hindrance for him.
Someone else said they love the episode, and they especially love Lois running to Clark in slow motion. I don't know why they would love that. I got some ideas.
It's probably the same reason that Baywatch uses a lot of slow motion.
Yes, Baywatch, that's right. It was very Baywatchy, now that I think about it. All right, there you go. They liked Clark's reaction to using when he looked in the copy room with the X-ray. Like his reaction to what he saw in there was just priceless.
Oh yeah.
And then someone was wondering how the honeymoon episode coming up would differ from the Christopher Reeve honeymoon scene, because it was very similar to what happened in the movie. When they were together in the honeymoon suite.
I can see that.
They were wondering. Now this is when things start to they start to actually get involved in the internet a little bit here. The watchers. There was, I guess, some news that there was going to be a skip week the next week. So they were wondering, how come there's a skip week already? We just came back from a little break, and now they're already taking a week off. We had a lot of this with Sliders, where they actually, were very involved in the internet and the rumors that were going on. And so they were saying, hey, we heard these rumors about Deborah Joy Levine. Is she staying on or is she leaving? We heard something like she's not staying on. And apparently people were saying, no, she's staying on, but executive producer David Levine is out, and there's supposed to be someone else coming on, someone from the show Reasonable Doubt. And I guess they were saying, I think it's Robert Singer, because he's really good. But with all this retooling, it's making them nervous, like what's going to happen to the show. So there's some things going on behind the scenes here for Lois and Clark that people are finding out about just now.
Yeah, and I think this happens a lot with TV shows. Maybe they'll bring someone in, they'll get it started, but maybe the studio or whoever is not quite happy with the direction they're taking, so they're going to swap out some of the personnel to keep it moving forward in a way that they want it to go. Who knows?
Yeah.
Could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. I just like we were talking about, like, in Sliders, there was so much going on behind the scenes, and obviously our reactions and the guys over at Sliders.tv know a lot about what was going on behind the scenes. So we learned a lot about it. And then with Lois and Clark, since it's earlier than Sliders was, we were kind of like hurting for stuff about behind the scenes.
Yeah, and as for skip week, I mean, we're kind of around the Christmas period here. It's December, so there's going to be weeks off for whatever reason. There could be some sort of Christmas special thing or something on, so they're going to take a week off or whatever. So yeah, I can understand. I can understand them skipping weeks during this period of time. All right. Well, our next issue, we're going to be talking about All Shook Up and Witness. I honestly have no idea. I'm a complete blank on what these two episodes were.
Right. I'm trying to think. All Shook Up. Like, I think in my mind, I was thinking All Shook Up was the one where Perry did his Elvis impression, but obviously that was in Pheromone. So all shook up.
Well, it makes me think maybe it is a Perry-centric episode, being that it's, you know, kind of got that Elvis tie-in.
Right. Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with that. And then Witness, wasn't there something? I think there's something with Lois. Did she see something and then Superman has to act as her bodyguard? Maybe.
Kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, so maybe that's that one. I can't recall.
Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Exactly, because that's it for this issue of the Rewatch Podcast. Keep up with listener interaction by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/Rewatch Podcast or facebook.com/Lois and Clark Rewatch, and follow the show on Twitter at Rewatch Pod. You can also visit our webpage at rewatchpodcast.podomatic.com, which has some of our favorite links there, such as zoomway.net, redboots.net, and folc.wiki.com, plus links to our archive of film rewatch episodes.
And remember, you can always write us an email or record a voice message and send it to the Rewatch Podcast at gmail.com. And also, if you've enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a rate and review on iTunes. It's always very helpful. And you can help support the Rewatch Podcast by heading over to patreon.com/Rewatch Podcast, where you can make a monthly contribution as little as $1.
I put up in the Zoomway forums as well if you have a second there, go on over to iTunes and give us a review, because we haven't had any new reviews in months, since like mid 2015, I think it was. So
yeah,
hopefully some of our new listeners will go over and give us a little review and help us get up in these search results there.
Yeah, if you're enjoying our coverage of Lois and Clark and tuning in every week to hear us talk about it, it's the easiest way you can help out the show, help us get our search results on iTunes and all that. And of course, we're also on YouTube, and we need 100 subscribers to get ourselves a custom URL. So head over to our Facebook page, we'll put up links there, or just search for Rewatch Podcast and subscribe today. All right, well, thank you for joining me for this Love Fest set of episodes.
Yeah, of course. Love to be here.
And ironic enough, we actually did kind of love both of these episodes. They were pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
So I will just say, until next time, if someone's a chump, therefore he's chumpy.
We gotta fly.
The Rewatch Podcast is not associated with Warner Brothers Television, ABC, Gangbuster Films Incorporated, or Roundelay Productions.
Don't believe everything you see on TV.
The use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes as provided in United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use.
Let's get legal on this.
Music provided by Kevin McCloud at incompetech.com.
Great shades of Elvis.
Copyright 2016, The Rewatch Podcast.
Where are your beepers? We'll be in touch.
Hi, Rewatch Podcast listeners. I'm Corey.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Nathan.
First off, let me say that we have all had a blast doing the Rewatch Podcast. Every week, we put out another episode for free for you. And although we enjoy these discussions with each other, we truly do this for you guys out there in podcast land.
That's right, Corey. But we are here today to tell you about Patreon. Every week, there are costs involved in podcasting about film and television, including hosting and bandwidth charges, our own personal internet usage, and film or show rentals and purchases. So, we're asking you to become a Patreon supporter.
If you can afford as little as $1 to throw our way per month, it would really help us keep the lights on. And if you want to send $100 our way every month, we wouldn't turn that down either. But it's your choice, and we appreciate the support you bring.
As always, we strive to bring you the best quality shows we can create, and we hope that you enjoy them. So head on over to patreon.com/Rewatch Podcast to become one of our patrons and show your support for the Rewatch Podcast.
And if we get enough patrons, we may even be able to produce exclusive content just for the supporters in the form of simply getting episodes before the main feed release, or even bonus film discussion episodes as a thank you for your support. The website again is patreon.com/Rewatch Podcast.
Thanks, everyone.